What's going on, good people? It's your boy E-Buck, your favorite co-host in the building. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the Guru Sports Session. And of course, we cannot have a Guru Sports Session without that dude we call the sports guru himself, the one and only Hugh Lee. What's going on, Hugh?
What's up, E-Man? How you doing, brother?
It's all good. Let me put you in your proper chair there because you running things. And we're going to get to handling business. We're going to have some good stuff to talk about this week. We're going to go there with a couple things this week. Be prepared, y'all. Be prepared.
Oh,
Here you go.
waiting for this show, man. Wait for this show all yesterday.
Let's go.
I want to first start, and I want to talk about the NBA playoffs, man. And like you said, I had to take a step back, and I would have to apologize to anybody who was watching when I said I wasn't feeling it. I just had to watch the right one playoff series, man. And that Golden State series, I want to get into that one first, even though they didn't play last night. But, man, that's a physical series between Golden State and the Houston Rockets. I never really seen that side of Golden State before. I've always seen that side from the Houston Rockets because when you got guys like Dylan Brooks and you got enforcers over there on that team and the Thomas twin, they're a little physical, but man, I definitely like Sengun and a lot of the guys that's over there, the Jalen Greens, but I like Ime Udoka too as their head coach. But I never thought that Steve Kerr, your Seth Curry, Jimmy Butler, and all those guys would be more physical than the Houston Rockets team. That's been surprising me. It's been physical on both sides, and then I like the hatred there, man. That definitely makes for a good series. Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Playoff Butler, he basically was saying when they was asking them in the press conference, oh man, it seems like you and Dylan Brooks are having a good time, man. I know you guys are, colliding against each other and it's a rival, but still it's like you guys seem like you connect and you're, pretty good when it comes to having camaraderie on the basketball court. He said, nah, let's get something straight. Me and Dylan Brooks ain't cool. I do not like that dude as a player or a person. He said, don't get it twisted. What you're seeing is not the same as far as what's going on that basketball court. And them the type of series we used to like to see back in the mid 80s and 90s. And that's one of the ones that made me definitely pay more attention to the playoffs in hand. What are your thoughts on that, E?
I think what it boils down to is us old school basketball heads, we liking this year's version of the playoffs because we seeing a lot more rough and tumble like that. It's not just that series. Of course, got to talk about the Pistons and the Knicks.
Yes,
That's been
sir.
a very rough and tumble
Yes, sir.
series. Last night, of course, that series over now, but the Bucks and the Pacers, they were getting at it quite a bit also in that series. It's good to see that people starting to take this thing more seriously.
Yeah.
During the regular season, it usually do be a lot of he and han and ha ha. You see now people like, it's playoff time. It's time to tighten up and step into this next level. So people like playoff Jimmy, as we call him, and people like Schroeder for the Pistons. And you notice that they done kind of step their game up a couple notches here because they trying to show y'all that you might be him, but you're going to earn this. We ain't just gonna give it to you.
Love Schroeder being over there too with the Detroit Pistons, man, because you can see he's been in the playoffs before and he ain't trying to be nobody's friend. And the Pistons, man, I want to talk about that too because I know that me and you were one too happy about that series. I didn't want to watch the game when they went back to New York because I felt like they took that last game from us, man. And then when the officials, after the game was over and the game was decided, was saying, oh man, well, we seen that play and it should have been called. Why don't they find these dudes? Remember in the NFL, whenever you mess up a play and it determines the game, if the game is already decided, Roger Goodell will go back and he will find a ref from not calling that play or having a miscue on the play that should have been called. That should be something in the NBA to make them get their act together because actually, in me and your opinion and a lot of other people's opinion, man, that series could easily be 3-2 Detroit coming back to Michigan.
It could easily be over. Keep in mind these last 3-4 games. I think the difference in point differential is like 12 points combined for those last 3 games. So a couple plays either way could have determined that on a whole different level.
Absolutely.
The thing I like is that this Piston team we got going in the playoffs, they are kind of the embodiment of what we as Detroiters feel ourselves to be.
Absolutely.
Resilient and gritty and determined and hardworking. And you seeing that. They just, a lot of people pretty much did write them off as, this team, okay, they're about to go to New York and go ahead and call it a series. No, sir, Bob. They came in that thing last night like, look, y'all want it? Y'all gonna have to take it out our cold dead hand. It ain't over. It ain't over. And you best believe tomorrow night and a beautiful evening, Thursday night in the city of Detroit, game already sold out, Hugh. It's gonna be on and popping. If it's anything like it was this weekend, and shout out to the Detroit fans for that Sunday game, they had that boy rocking. I expect very similar tomorrow night. I truly expect it's gonna be a game 7.
I
I'm
would
not
love
saying
to
we
see
winning
that.
that game 7, man, you in New York, because they're gonna be off the chain on a Sunday night in New York. But
Oh, absolutely.
I do believe this crowd gonna get us over the hump, and we're gonna see Game 7, and that's gonna be one of the better watch games in the playoffs. Period.
The cool part about it too is the fact that if they do, it's like say if the Knicks do move on, they're gonna be lipping into that next game. I believe whoever win this series got to play the Celtics. Am I correct?
Yep. And I
Um,
gotta be honest, between Knicks or Pistons, it don't matter who win this series. They're not beating Boston, even though Boston is a little beat up. I just don't see it happening.
and I was just about to say it took a banged up Boston Celtics team to lose that one game in Orlando, man, because you know and I know if Jason Tatum would have played, that series would have been over, man. And speaking of, I want to shift over to the Indiana Pacers series with Milwaukee. We was already saying, it's the end for Milwaukee, and we looked at it like, man, you guys got rid of a lot of your personnel that was on your team to help you get there. And we know Chris Middleton was banged up before, but I think they took some of the heart and soul out of their team when they traded him. And yeah, it was for a younger guy in Kuzma, but when you look at that team, they wasn't the same, and it definitely didn't help with Dame, being out. Damian Lillard, I really feel bad at this point because, like we were talking about yesterday, with that injury, man, it's gonna be hard for him to bounce back, man. And if he did play in Milwaukee, he probably won't be the same. So I'm trying to figure out what's going to go on. I know I sent you several pictures and things, man, where it was like photoshopped. And what was one of the main pictures, if you recall? I had Giannis going to Golden State or going somewhere where he can go and he can compete with a big market team now. So, yeah, I want to know what are your thoughts on that 3-1. I mean, that the series is over now. It was another gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, now like I said, in the end, that was a pretty good series. Yeah, you pretty much knew when Dame Dollar went down and he wasn't coming back. And I pray that he is able to revive his career because those Achilles injuries, once upon a time you get an Achilles, that was it. Your
Yeah,
career was over. It wasn't even no rehab in that. So the fact that you could even do so is a modern miracle of technology. But that being said, it still tends to affect you when you're an older player. And that
absolutely.
being Dame Dollar Lillard, and the fact that he's a guard that relies on his speed and not to get open, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to rehab himself to the point where he gets back to that level. So yeah,
Yeah,
this might be it for Dame Dollar.
because that Achilles
Hopefully,
injury.
if that is the case, he got other things going on. Would love to see him actually take a serious stab at the whole rap career thing because Dame got skills with
I
that.
wouldn't be upset with that. What's crazy to me too, and shout out to the Ball Boys for that. Um, the brother he couldn't make it. He was in UCLA, things didn't go well. He was in and out of the NBA, and for him to
Shout
have a
out to
really big
3G Leangelo Ball,
yeah,
absolutely.
and D'Angelo to have that career that he has now in music, man. I think if he could do it, no disrespect, but I definitely feel like Dame would have a really huge splash in the industry. And I'm hoping if the basketball career is not there, that he can bounce back and go into music, like you said. That'd be a clever move.
Yeah, would not be mad at that at all. But okay, but in terms of series, oh yeah, we definitely got to address the incident that happened last night. Apparently, at the end of the game, uh, the young man Halliburton, his father, got on the court and was kind of taunting Giannis and was all in his face like, "Yeah, we did that. This is how we fucking do," and kind of made himself a story within the story. I mean, bottom line, yeah, that's your kid. You proud of them. I get that, but you can't be doing that type of stuff in the NBA. I mean, what if Giannis would have took that a different type of way? That dude all about 6'11". You probably about my height. Yeah, that could have got real ugly if Giannis wasn't the type of person Giannis was. But we got to remember, yeah, our kids in the NBA and we proud of them and all of that. But we can't start making ourselves the story. We'll get into that a little bit more, a little bit further down the show. But We can't be doing that type of stuff.
They got to do better at that, man. Remember, we were saying that it was getting so bad with the hecklers and the things that have been going on in the NBA that they're going to probably have to start blocking off between the, crowd and the players. And that's what it's starting to get to, man. Yeah, I know you pay your ticket or you get your tickets from your son because of,
Right.
who he is. But to have that type of heckling and disrespect, man, I don't really feel like that's part of the game, especially when you ain't do nothing to contribute. Stay your butt on that bench, keep your ass over there and be happy from the actual fan point of view. Don't get up in players' faces and doing that, man. Just didn't really feel like that was something I liked in the playoffs, and especially when you're not even contributing, man. Sit down, watch the game, be a fan. Don't do that. And I think the NBA let too many people get away with that, and I'm not too fond of that here. They need to step up and do something. That's one thing I feel like Adam Silver needs to do, and I feel like that wouldn't go down in the NFL as much as they always take jabs at
Or
them.
MLB for that matter.
Oh,
I
man,
agree.
no, not at all, man. They'll kick you out in a heartbeat, man.
Oh,
They
yeah.
need to do a better job at that.
I have to agree.
But the sad part was, I know you remember before in the season when E40 had somebody heckling him and he ain't do a damn thing. He just joined the game. You put him out because you feel like, okay, where them cards at, E? And you already know that's something that I feel like played a part of it, man. He was who he was and she was who she was. And
Mm,
that's the reason why they put him out, man. And I just really felt like that was a joke, man. But big ups to the guys who stepped up for him too, some of the former players and the players in general who walked out and checked up on him and made sure he was okay. One of them being Andre Iguodala. Just really felt like that wasn't no place for the game, man. But they just need to do a better job in the NBA. That's one thing I could say that the NFL and the MLB, like you said, have over Adam Silver right now. And they need to fix that, man, because that's making the NBA look like a joke. And somebody's going to get hurt.
It's funny you bring up Andre Iguodala. If you're a fan of the show known as Abbott Elementary, it's funny how he still kind of plays a little small role in the timeline of the show. Keeping in mind that during the show he was dating the principal Ava, and every now and then she'll bring up like, man, he still be calling me. It's just funny that they keeping that role, and maybe we'll see him.
Speaking of your show, Abbott Elementary, don't you know this time they're going to FX?
Yes.
A more grimier series to do the Always
They're basically doing a crossover between them and it's Sunny in Philadelphia. So
I'm
I
really
said,
looking forward to that.
you check out that show, and you check out that show, then you might be interested to see how they play that on the reverse end.
Yeah, because they wasn't gonna be nowhere near as bad as the FX. That's why I was waiting for another crossover with them.
Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, again, a good series. Now, the series out of all of these that I wasn't too happy with, and thank goodness that's not representative of all the NBA final series, that series between Miami and Cleveland, Miami. Y'all went out like some straight up.
They were in one game too and let it slip, man. It was just crazy, man. And it's been a lot of games that's been let
But
go.
that last game, come on, man. They quit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they quit.
But you know what, too? You got to mention the Pacers quit too yesterday, man. How you up like 7 points with like 38 seconds left and you lose that game, man? You physically choke.
You talking about the Bucks, yeah. But no, they didn't quit like Miami quit. How you down 48 at the half in game
that got
4?
really bad, man. I think that when Jimmy left that team, he kind of took the soul out of it. Remember when I was telling you? I agree. I was saying that, yeah, man, I think that now Bam Adebayo is going to step up and this is his time. But he's been in MIA most of this series, man. Tyler Hero's been that guy.
Tyler Hero still wasn't no hero in game 4.
No,
I mean,
no, it ain't no heroes.
That's the worst quit job I've ever seen in the NBA basketball.
No heroes in this series, E. And it was just really a shame to see, man. I definitely wasn't paying no attention to that because it definitely didn't seem like it was going to be an interesting series. But then we got to look at the West too, and we got to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies with that series with them and OKC. Those guys gave up too, man. You know what?
I mean, well, you know what happened there. Once my guy got hurt, John Morant, it was a wrap after that.
It seems like he always get hurt at the wrong moment, but even if he was healthy, I still think they would have
Oh
got
no, they won't win
that
that
butt
series
whooping.
either
But
way.
yeah, those series kind of shadowed each other. It was like the only difference was they were on two different coasts, man. But yeah, some of those like first round series, definitely the one in ACs was the worst, man. And
Yeah.
I can't even really say, at least with the seven seeds, they put up a fight and maybe got a victory here or there. But a lot of gentlemen sweeps in these series too. But yeah,
Right.
I'm definitely enjoying that Denver Nuggets series with the Clippers, though.
Right, and give Kawhi Leonard some credit. He finally had a series where he just showed up. We ain't worried about, okay, he done got hurt and whatnot. He playing up to the capability that we always knew he was able to, but because of the injuries and whatnot, we just didn't get that from him. Hopefully he can stay healthy through these playoffs and we can get some more good Kawhi as
He
opposed
definitely been
to
playing and playing well, man. It's like this series was so evenly matched, and that's what I was telling you when I really start paying more attention because of how good this series was. Big ups to James Harden and Kawhi because it seems like Kawhi been getting a lot of motivation from Harden. Man, this is the most I've ever seen him smile and the most happy I've seen him. I have to give credit with James Harden because of the fact that he's being a leader and he helping out his boy, man. And they've been meshing and playing really well. I think when the series shifts over and go back to Los Angeles, I definitely think this can definitely be a seven series as well. But it was just no stopping Jamal Murray yesterday. Even when my man's Nikola Jokic had a bad game, they still couldn't get with Murray. And if Murray continued to keep up this intensity, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with in the playoffs, man. This is what they were missing. But just imagine if Jokic played well on top of that. Yeah, that's a dangerous team. And
right.
then
And
Westbrook.
I really enjoy the owner for the Clippers, Mr. Ballmer, and how much he enjoys watching his team play.
Absolutely.
He's so into it, man. I love it.
He definitely one of them owners, man, to make you proud to see him, in the arena, man. We used to love that same intensity from Mark Cuban. Unfortunately, after he
Absolutely.
left and everything happened,
Yeah.
things kind of took a turn for the worse. But let's talk about that scenario now, because Luka's over there with the Los Angeles Lakers, and then you got Minnesota. It was like a series where was it like what was it, a 2 and a 7 seed?
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because Los Angeles is the 2 seed and the 7 seed
Well, no,
in
actually,
Minnesota.
Los Angeles 3 seed, 6 seed. That's what it is.
Three
Yeah.
six. I
Yeah.
thought when I saw it, I said, "Yeah, man, this is going to be interesting," because I still felt like Minnesota had a better team and ever more of a matchup nightmare, and that's what we're seeing right now. I had people who was very ecstatic and happy to see Luka Doncic go over to the Los Angeles Lakers now saying they hate this guy because he's taking too many shots. So I
Oh,
want to know
wow.
your thoughts on this series and the Lakers being down 3-1 right now on the brink of being out of the playoffs.
Understand, this would already be over if it was not for Luca, okay? You know, for the first time, I think we have actually started seeing LeBron showing his age, okay? And
Yeah,
it's not like he's not playing good in this series. He
it's
is,
just he
but
be gassed.
there are times in the game where you see he takes some breathers within the game.
Yeah,
A lot of people starting to notice that now. And of course, it makes sense. He done played 22 seasons at the highest of levels, played all type of extra playoff basketball. He got to be somewhat tired at this point. So I ain't mad at him. But the thing is, if not for Luca, this series would be over because the others that you desperately need in these types of playoff series for you to go to the next level, they're not showing up at all for the Lakers. We ain't getting
yeah.
no Rudy. We ain't getting no AR-15. They not playing up to
And
the
that's
level.
weird too, because Austin Reed
Vanderbilt not
was
even really getting no good quality minutes. I mean, it's the Lakers. They kind of overachieved because we kind of figured that they made the trade, but they weren't going to be quite ready for the next level. They still
yeah.
need to add a couple things, but right now Minnesota saying, "Look, y'all old bastards about to sit down. We ain't through."
And that's the thing. You know what it remind me of all over again? It remind me of when they played Denver, man. And Denver has kind of older players versus that younger team, and they ran them out of the gym. I still
And
feel
no
like,
disrespect to Ant-Man, but the comparisons with him in 23, y'all need to calm that down a little
oh
bit,
man, it
okay?
ain't no way. I
Ain't
know
got
they've
game.
been
Don't
doing.
get me wrong. Ain't got game, but
You
he ain't
do.
on that level.
No, man, and I feel like he's matured a lot in the NBA, being such a young caliber player, but still he's not on that level. I hope that MJ curse don't hit him too, because whenever anybody say he's just as he is similar or has
I already know where
similarities
you're
to
going.
him
I know
or
where
a
you're
baby
going.
Jordan,
I know
they
where you're
ended up being
going.
obsolete. So yeah, come on now, stop with that.
You
But
remember the
he,
baby Jordan comparisons to that kid that played in Miami? You
Harold
remember?
Miner.
Yes, we know him. We know him well. Don't do that to that guy.
Yeah, because I don't definitely see it, but I'm definitely gonna watch that game tonight, because I want to see what happened and see how everything go down in that whole series. Because I still feel like in this series, man, it's not enough for the other guys. Like you said, the Rui Hachimura is not doing nothing. Your Austin Reeves not doing nothing. Nobody's really stepping up when they need to. So yeah, and
Yeah,
until
but
then,
overall, we accept your apology, Hugh, about the playoff basketball because we actually got a good playoffs going right now.
we actually do, man, and
Hopefully that will continue.
I think where I messed up at was when I had the chance to watch games. You know which games I watched. I watched the one in ACs, and those were the bad games. So I had to
Very much so.
basically, push out the bad games and focus on the other games like the Denver Nuggets versus the Clippers, not the Lakers. Oh Lord, the
Right.
Pistons versus the Knicks. It's been some really good games still in between that. And by being the first round, you're gonna have your dud games, but I believe once they get to the second round, which most of the games are, it's really about to pick up.
Right. Because I know in the West, I definitely want to see OKC play Golden State if that happens at some point. And and as far as the East go, I think we all know we kind of on that collision course at this point with Cleveland and Boston. So
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I
and
mean,
I would safely say whoever win that series probably gonna win it up.
yeah, I'm
That would be
definitely
my
feeling the
guess.
same way, man. It's been pretty good basketball, man. And like I said, I definitely apologize, man. And since we talked about that too, man, and I definitely want to see what's going to materialize too, because I know pretty soon their draft is coming up. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, besides Cooper Flag and a couple other dudes, I don't know too many people in there. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you, but for now, I want to turn my attention from the NBA, and I want to focus on and kind of get this done and get it out of the way now. And you see our backgrounds, if you didn't know by now, on the 2025 NFL Draft Summary. Your thoughts on some of like the winners and the losers in this NFL Draft?
Okay, well, before we get to that, I want to bring up another basketball related story if we
Yeah.
could. Gilbert Arenas, his son
Yes.
got in a very bad car accident. Basically, it wasn't looking too good for him at one point, but it's saying now that he is recovering nicely. He was in a coma. He's out of the coma now. He's recovering, and they say they look to see him get back to being his normal self at some point. Uh, Arenas' son is one of the top 25 prospects getting ready to come out of high school, and just happy that that young man did not have a situation where he is no longer with us. Prayers to the Arenas family and all they going through over there.
That was definitely a blessing because when I finally was aware of it, one of my other boys, Eric Merriweather, told me. He said, "Hey, Hugh, man, what's going on with Gilbert Arenas, son?" And then when I checked into it, I said, "Man, I hope everything be okay." And then that's when I started following that he, was conscious. And then, he started to recover well until he was out of the hospital when, almost back to his regular activities. And that's good, man, because his son is one of the premier players too. You got him, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James kids, all in college right now, man. Those second, third generation players that we want to see. And I'm definitely hoping he recovered well. And I want to see those guys because they're going to definitely make good for college basketball coming up next season.
All right, now look at my guy. I see you, bro. I see you. He already got it set up. So as we got that plan, okay, let's go with winners and losers of the NFL draft. Some of the bigger winners. One, the NFL draft itself. The fact that it is now a 3-day event, I'm sure when the numbers come out, you will see that it was watched quite nicely in terms of viewership and whatnot. One of the reasons not so good. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
Unfortunately.
yeah, people definitely was checking it out and keeping abreast of it. And I talked to several people about it over the course of the weekend. They thoughts on it and whatnot. People that you wouldn't even think would watch NFL, let alone NFL draft, was keeping up with it. That was kind of good too. Good job, Green Bay. Y'all did throw a pretty good draft over
They
there.
did.
Not quite as good as ours, man. Because we did do our thing. But I think part of that was just the resources that they have as opposed to what we have. But yeah, in an ideal world, I hope they definitely continue to do it this way, where every year they throw it in a different location that's football adjacent, because I think that's good for the country. I think it's good for the diehard NFL people that like to travel to different places and be a part of that stage and whatnot. I like how they had different types of people that would come out and announce some of the picks. Of course, shout out to the Make-A-Wish Foundation that always does a wonderful job in the NFL draft of bringing some of their people to be people that announce the draft. Shout out to the NFL who brought some good people. Shout out to the WWE that launched some of its talent to the NFL draft to announce a couple picks. That was cool. And shout out to some of the former players that came out made picks.
Yeah.
Of course, the government over there in Wisconsin, some of those people came and made picks as well. I just like the draft and how they threw it and it as an organization. So they definitely get a win in that.
Because to see guys like Jordy Nelson, your Ahmad Greens,
Yeah.
and some of the bigger players, Clay Matthews, man, he looked like a father now. He looked like one of them couch dads, but still, it was cool to see all those guys there, man, and be at the draft and didn't really too much care for Little Weezy being there, because the fact is, we are adjacent to Green Bay. We're not huge fans, but it was cool to see Tyrion Arnold though go over there and heckle him too. Definitely love that.
And definitely the whole Seth freaking Rollins. I love that integration
Oh
of
yeah,
that.
that was pretty cool.
That was cool to see.
Yeah, because he's a true diehard Chicago Bears fan, so that made for it was good TV at some point, man.
Yeah.
And, that was definitely one of the winners. Just the atmosphere and the culture, man.
Absolutely.
Another winner, we were just talking about this young man from West Bloomfield Hills, man. Big ups to my boy Steve McGuire. He was telling me that his wife went to the after party, and they were really close with, Maxwell Harrison family. Just him in general, man, the way he carried himself, how he shook everybody's hand and gave them a hug, and until he got drafted, man. But it was just a really good support system in the green room. It seemed like everybody had each other's back this year. A lot of times we might not see or hear it, but it was just good character in him, man. And I think that the Buffalo Bills going to get a player with a high motor who was the second best cornerback to me because he does everything well. And I definitely believe he's going to have a good NFL career, but I definitely appreciate him and his character.
I also want to take this time to shout out the people of the island of Samoa. It seems like, because now they're starting to get a lot more athletes into not only the NBA, well, not the WNBA, I should say, but in the NFL as well. And I just like how humble they are in terms of receiving that blessing. How they, usually they don't go to the draft, they'll celebrate from their homes. And it's usually a very festive and this happy situation. They always so thankful to the people that help get them there, their coaches and whatnot. Very thankful for God and their family. And I just like how they deal with things like that overall. I mean, we got a couple of those type of people here in our area. Of course, we got Penei Sewell for the Lions, but we also have a couple of the Nakua brothers that play for the Detroit Panthers. And, anytime they talk to those guys, you just get a good vibe from them, man. What's your thoughts on that, you?
I love it, man, because like you said, we got Penei Sewell in here, his little brother in Chicago. You got one of the kids who's still playing in college. And, they're all around the NFL now, man, and this is good to see. And I'm happy that, that the Samoa heritage, man, we already love them from WWE. But then now it's, over in NFL, WNBA. It's just really cool, man, to have different cultures play because we got a guy from Egypt on the Lions, and it's just good to see not just only one culture, everybody's picking up the game and the sport. And it just makes good for like football and worldwide, man, because we already like how MLB already had so many nationalities and, personalities of different players from different countries. But now we're starting to grow more in like the NFL circuit as well.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to be more of a global brand, and I recognize that. But okay, that's some of the good. Truthfully, the losers in the NFL draft. Okay, we'll talk teams, but then it's the biggest loser of all. Okay, in terms of losers, first of all, Cincinnati Bengals. Are y'all trying to win? It don't come like I said. If you go to Hughes Guru's perspective, he did the winners and losers of the NFL draft, and his biggest loser was by far Cincinnati, the only team he gave an absolute F to. I completely agree with that grade, Hugh. They don't seem to really want. I mean, you didn't pay your offensive players, granted. Defensively,
Didn't
okay,
do
let's just say you
anything.
keep Henderson. You still got what to go with him. You got to understand you in one of the toughest divisions in NFL, and all those teams did pretty decent in the draft. So the fact that you kind of did nothing with your picks, I don't get it.
And the
But
crazy part was, the pass rush wasn't really the issue there because they got
right,
a pass rusher in the draft, But then, they're still unsure what they're going to do with Trey Hendrickson. And they look at it like, even if he do stay this year, it's a possibility they could trade him mid-season or he might not be there at the end of the season. What happened to the cornerback play? They let so many of them guys go once they gave Joe Burrow his bag. The Jesse Bates the third, and a lot of those guys went to other teams, and they didn't focus. They definitely kept their eye off of the cornerback position because they couldn't keep up with anybody. And most times, if you wanted to be Cincinnati, all you got to do is just throw it over the top, and because they didn't have nobody in coverage. So yeah, it was just really bad, man. That they didn't really
and,
try to do
and
anything.
granted, I don't necessarily like Cincinnati as a city from my personal experience, but I do recognize they're a pretty decent sports town. So what they get in terms of the sports with the Bengals and the Reds, they the ownership for those two franchises, they're not doing quality work. I mean, particularly you talk about the Reds, they got two very good players on that Red squad. To talk a little bit of baseball right quick. With De La Cruz, I mean, if you haven't seen that kid play, you missing out.
And
And
that pitcher,
Hunter Green is one of the best, not well known power pitchers in MLB right
mhm.
now. And right now, they got players that, they gave away Castellanos. They gave away Eugenio Suarez that just hit 4 home runs in the game the other day. I don't understand what they doing either. But yeah, Cincinnati, yeah, you suck. And
Gino been on the
Dallas
tail too.
Cowboys, I understand you are the highest paid franchise on planet Earth pretty much. But in terms of your draft, we know the things you really needed. You addressed one of them with the line. Yeah, you did that. But you need receiver help. You didn't do a good job of addressing that. And we know you need quality running backs. You didn't really address that either. I don't understand it. I think you gave them a C. I would have gave them an F as well. Did
I
not
feel
like
like
what they did as a draft.
one of the reasons why I did because the Tyler Booker pick was good, but like you said, I don't really feel like they did much and complete that team because there's no wide receivers, and now they're talking about bringing back Amari Cooper. Like, do you really think he want to come back to you guys open arms the way his tenure ended? And I just don't really feel like as far as the running back go, man. But Lord forbid, though, man, it's still a Nick Chubb out there. Remember, I was telling you about that, but I just don't
Mhm.
think that they will give the money or they would do what they would have to do to actually bring him over there to Dallas. I just don't understand that. Then Micah Parsons' contract is coming up, man. I don't think what they have over there as far as the running backs and just players in general will get it done. But it just seems like a team who say they're all in. I don't really believe them because it don't seem like their energy is matching what they're saying.
Right. Now, in terms of our team, the Detroit Lions, you gave them a D. I didn't feel like that was a fair grade. And I'm gonna tell you why. I understand that everybody expected, okay, we know what the Lions need. They need another edge. That's what they're gonna draft. And if they have to move up and whatnot, we supposed to go all in. This is supposed to be for the Super Bowl and whatnot. And they didn't do any of that, and people feel some type of way. I get that. But then listen to Brad Holmes' interview on the local station, and he brought up a very good point. In terms of edge rusher, quality elite edge rushers, how many of them are in the National Football League right now? I'm going to leave that to the guru. Who would you put in that quick top five, Hugh?
I would definitely put Aiden Hutchinson when he's healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have a guy over in Kansas City. Well, actually, that's crazy too because he's more of an interior pass rusher, who's Chris Jones.
So the man, what you said, okay.
And then you have let me see. Well,
Let me make
Nick
it easy
Bosa.
for you.
You got Nick Bosa.
Sorta. He's constantly hurt.
Yeah, him and his brother Joey. So if you want to
Yeah.
go with people who stay healthy, damn. Besides when we had Aiden Hutchinson healthy, it's
He,
like most times it's give or take because most of those guys are pretty banged up, man. And you see
so
how
basically, we got Hutchison, we got Crosby, we got the
Hendrickson,
kid over there in Cincinnati, we got
and I'm
who's
still say Nick Bosa when he's healthy
okay.
though.
You go
Nah,
with both. So bottom line, it's less than 10, correct?
I say so as far as on a consistent health level.
Right. Out of those 10 people, do 2 or more of them play for the same team?
No,
Why is that, Hugh?
you normally just would have probably one elite pass rusher and maybe kind of another
Aha!
person.
Aha! Hold
But
that thought, Hugh. I know where you go,
another
but hold that thought.
issue
Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
was the fact that you already know what I'm about to say. You didn't have Zadarius Smith is out there who, if you were going to try to keep your pass rush at least have decent, because one of the reasons why I went so low on the Lions too is because we don't know when Aiden Hutchinson coming back, man. Are you depending on Marcus Davenport to play well?
I'm not, but I'm depending on Hudson to be back by the first game. There's been no indication that he won't be.
Well, how much pressure would you want to put on a guy who just came off an ACL injury?
The same amount of pressure I put on half of the Lions who basically came in the league banged up because that's how Brad Holmes likes to do things. You got to understand, if you going on the record of, okay, I'm Brad Holmes, this is what I do, look at my past work and how it worked out for us, then you kind of got to give him a little leeway when it comes to that. I mean, bottom line is we got a very young team, and several of those young men are coming up on contract. Now, if you want us to keep a good nucleus, we got to pay these guys. We cannot afford 2 elite rushers, not to mention the fact that it's been very rare in the last 25 years of the National Football League that a defense has 2 elite pass rushers.
If they did, they were pretty banged up. Unfortunately, we did have a team that had 2 elite pass rushers, don't forget. But
I
then
mean,
one of the
hell,
guys
the Chargers
came
got 2 elite pass rushers if you think about Bosa and Khalil Mack, but again, because they ain't never fully both healthy at the same time, we don't get that.
and the crazy part was the older player, and Khalil Mack was more healthier than the
Right.
Joey
Hell,
Bosa,
you go
who's
back to San
now
Francisco a couple years ago when they had Bosa and Chase Young on the same squad. It worked out to a degree, but that wasn't the main reason San Francisco made it to the Super Bowl by any means.
nah, and I don't really feel like Chase Young really ended up. He
Right.
his
And
expectations
like I said,
were higher.
it's and I feel it's not fair for us to judge a Detroit Lions draft and give it a D when that team had, for all intents and purposes, the best record in the National Football League with being banged up last year.
The problem is, if when we talk about that, I think Tyleik Williams was a reach. They could have got him in the second round, and I definitely felt like with the guard that was a good pickup. But then the Isaac Tesla was actually a reach to me too. They probably could have got him in the lower round. That's
Okay,
why
they
I
said the
judged it.
same thing about another guy not too long ago. You might know him. We call him Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I know.
They
I
said he wasn't
definitely
even a
thought
fourth
that he
round
slipped
pick.
in that draft and thought that that was a mistake, But then at the same time, I got to look at it too, like you're saying, a lot of people used to think that Bill Belichick was crazy and didn't like some of the picks he made. What happened with Dermon Harmon, Super Bowl champion? What happened with a lot of those guys that their names wasn't to the point to where they were that big of a players or they felt like New England, chased after them. A lot of them dudes they got the Super Bowls that actually, go in, their resume to say that. Now, only one person I feel like, well, 2 guys I feel like that when they drafted in the past, it was like really solid was like the Dante Hightower and the Chandler Jones. Those are 2 huge pickups, and they got those guys back to back in the same year. Which, if you want to put like elite pass rushers, you could throw them in there as well. But It didn't last long. So, but
Right.
still,
So basically, you're saying a team like Pittsburgh Steelers, they have continued to do well because of a little something that I've constantly been talking about in terms of this draft, in particular, player development. When all is said and done, y'all, I feel like this was a player development type of draft where we gonna look at these people a few years from now and be like, okay, yeah, a lot of these guys, they just wasn't cutting the mustard.
and
But a
that's
few of
why
these guys, yeah, go
that
ahead,
I
you.
was fairly giving those guys good grades because a lot of them I didn't have expectations of the development, which this was a really mediocre draft. So yeah, I
Very
definitely
much
admit
so.
that as well.
But that being said, let's skip all that and get to the real meat, okay? The main reason why I think people will remember this particular draft from years and years from now is not necessarily because of the players in this draft, but for one player in particular. Let's go, Hugh.
So Dewey Sanders in his fall in the actual draft, I thought that I was really surprised that he wasn't in that top 10. Then it got to the top 20. Then it got to the end of the draft and he wasn't selected. So they were looking at, okay, he might be a day two selection. So we didn't see him in the second round at the beginning nowhere. We didn't see him in the middle, or we didn't see him at the end of that third round. So that's when the head started to scratch. When that fourth round passed and he was like in the middle of that fifth round, that's when I was like, yeah, I had to give you a text and say, something's not right here, man. The math ain't math. And he was basically, if not the second, third best quarterback in this draft. We couldn't make any sense out of it. And what pissed me off too is not only that for people who half-ass watch football and don't really know what's going on, to make comments to me and say, well, they were happy that this happened, or why are we crying and complaining he finally got picked? It's not about him not being picked, it's about how they treated and handled the situation. It's like, and shame on the people who watch football who dare had the audacity to come to me and even say that without knowing what's going on. And we know, like we talked about before, and Stephen A said it, and I appreciate you gave me that with Chris Carter as well. And we even said it before we even heard it come out of their mouths. Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders' hands wasn't fully clean in this, but we know what it was all about. And when we was talking to each other, the main thing we talked about was when you said, Hugh, what do you think this all comes down to? I said, you and I know, man, nobody's bigger than the Shield, and they wanted that to be known and they wanted that to be present when all this stuff happened.
All right. Hold my beer, Hugh.
Oh, yeah, because I really want you to get in and get in where you
Look
fit in
here.
right now.
Plain and simple, y'all. Yeah, we brought out the race cards again. Y'all know what this is. Say it with me, Hugh. Conspiracy. Okay? Collusion on the highest level. Yes, I understand. If you are an NFL owner worth billions of dollars and you own a team, you can do what you want because it's your money. I understand it. I get that. But as a fan of the game, a fan of the teams, this is all malarkey. Okay? And I do mean every talking head, expert, draft guru, whatnot, has Shedeur Sanders in at least the first, if not the second round. Would you not say that to be true, Hugh?
Agree.
How do we all of a sudden, without any character issue coming up, without any financial problem, without any criminal activity whatsoever, get to the day of said draft, and then suddenly this person not only does not get drafted in the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round. We finally get him in the middle, and they had the audacity to move up to get him in the fifth. So first of all, should Cleveland be seen as a hero in this story? Hell no.
Cleveland doing Cleveland things,
Cleveland is a horrible franchise, and this was another horrible way to show that. Because think about it. You already got Deshaun Watson in the building, and you got to still manage that debacle for a couple years because you got to pay him fully guaranteed contract. You know the deal. Then, of course, you already got two other quarterbacks in that room. Then you bring on, in the third round of the draft, Dylan Gabriel, and you know, me and you ain't never really been fully impressed with that dude to
No,
begin.
I told you that time
I
and time
understand he
again.
didn't bebopped around to different schools. He's been hurt more times than not. A lot of people had him going pretty much in the round where Shadura went, round 5th round. But suddenly he a 3rd round pick. You Cleveland made that pick thinking, okay, this is our guy. Now you turn around in the 5th round and move up to get somebody that you didn't have to move up to get. Could have got them. Like I said, if you had an issue and you wanted to quote unquote teach him a lesson, humble him, yeah, you didn't have to take him in the 1st round. You know, I think didn't they not have 2 picks in the 1st round?
Yes.
So that being said, 2nd round, day 2 picking. You know you want him if you really wanted him. Now, some people have seen this as being a pity pick. If it is, it's a stupid one. And the last person I want to pity me is a franchise like the Cleveland Browns, okay? That's not a good one. And then, of course, okay, let's just say they moved up because the intel said that, yeah, somebody else about to pick him. You better get him. Whoever that team was, shame on you. Because, you know, these GMs, they talk to each other. They know what they're going to do. They, you know, these deals don't just come out the blue on draft day like, oh, yeah, this team traded. These are usually talks that have been week in advance. Like, okay, if this and this happen, then we're going to call y'all and see if y'all want to do this and this. They didn't work these things out way in advance more times than not. So the fact that we are here and he is the 144th pick in the draft in the 5th round, yeah, BS. Okay, now the whole humbling thing. Can we get into that for a minute, you?
Yeah.
Why we need the humble dude? I mean, yeah, understand. He was in the game, yeah, y'all. Look at my watch. Blah, 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 blah. He is not the only college football player to ever come from money to go to the NFL, okay? Let's talk about people like Johnny Manziel. Let's talk about people like Andrew Luck. These people came from money. They people and parents had loot. Think about it. Most of your typical college people, you get to college one of 2 ways. Either you get there on scholarship or your people have money and you get into college that way. They are not the only people to ever go and be like, okay, my daddy got money. I don't really need to play in the NFL for money's sake. I'm just here to entertain y'all. You know what I'm saying? So that part is BS. Okay, well, Deion, and we not going to no scenes. There's only certain teams we going to and whatnot. He is not the first father to come out and say that. He ain't even the first famous father to come out and say that. You remember this kid named Eli Manning? Who was his daddy?
Archie Manning, and he did
Did
the same
Arch
thing.
Manning play in the league? I do believe so. And keep in mind, he's saying that. Why does Arch Manning say that? What team did Arch Manning play for?
You talking about in the NFL? New
Yeah.
Orleans?
What was it?
New Orleans.
And what did they used to call New Orleans back in the day? Not the Saints, but the Aints, right?
They wasn't good.
So, yeah, if anybody know about playing for a terrible football franchise, it was Arch Manning, so I wasn't mad at him for saying that about that. Now, that being said, yeah, Deion, he done had on both strings, okay? He played for the Falcons, and the Falcons are all right. They're all right. But he also played for the Cowboys and the 49ers and the Ravens, and, you know, he done been around the league. He know a few things. He done dealt with a few folks. So I ain't mad at him for saying, okay, I want my son to be in the best position. I love my son. You gonna fault that man for loving his son just because he might be a little. You could do that when you Deion Sanders and you were one of the top 5 defensive players of all time. When you are one of the top 5 overall athletes of all time, you got that type of cachet and say so. Is Shador that? No. But is he a good quarterback? Yet to be seen, but based on the tape and what we saw, was he the 8th or 9th best ranked quarterback in the NFL to be picked?
No way.
Hell no. We know it was BS. Y'all know it was BS. And for anybody that see it different and actually want to categorize and bring your own rationale to that and think that we as good sports people and people that got our common sense and people that know a conspiracy when they see one, they're supposed to buy what y'all see to be the reason why. Stop it. Collusion.
A lot
Period.
of people, too, Eve, what I've been hearing too, and you already know we talked about that, was saying stuff after the draft when he finally got drafted. That okay, well, Brian Daboll had him right there at the third overall pick if he didn't go to Cleveland. But the issue was when he was trying to show him the playbook and show him some plays, and he got the play wrong, and Brian Daboll tried to correct him, and he basically didn't like the way things materialized, which is Shedeur Sanders. It kind of rubbed him off the wrong way. But I know Brian Dayball and who he's about or what he's about. I know players had some similar issues with him when he was at Alabama. That's why he's not there. And then I remember he actually had a pretty good relationship when it came to being in New England. Then he went to the Buffalo Bills. Now he's with the Giants. I feel like it's crazy because you went back up in the draft and then you got my man's Jackson Dart. But
Good luck, buddy.
I didn't really think Dart was better than Sador neither. But then all the stuff came out all of a sudden after the draft is over, though. Oh, he didn't go and play in the East West Shrine game. He didn't play in the Senior Bowl. He didn't throw at the combine. And they were just feeling like more or less the way he came off in those interviews, which he even admitted that he could have did better. But, that's his first time around. And he probably wasn't really, up on the way. Well, you should know how to act when it comes to these interviews and all in general. But I think that a lot of the GMs and the coaches were saying he was rubbing them the wrong way. And you start hearing a lot of that melee before he even got drafted. But this whole draft slide, it was just chaotic. And I feel like it was uncalled for when you feel like, and how dare you feel, Yates, to even come up with the bullshit you did. You said, well, I miscalculated. I had him as the second best, quarterback on the board, and maybe I was wrong. No, you wasn't wrong. You know what the hell was going on. You basically trying to hide behind the shield, and I thought that that was a cowardly move on Phil Yates, and I wasn't happy at all. Him saying maybe I miscalculated. That's bullshit. You could have did better at saying, well, I'm surprised that he fell in the draft too. It was all about the NFL at this point, and them trying to lead by example and say nobody is bigger than the shield. We know that.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm sure I share the same sentiment as most of us. We want to see Shedeur show them y'all made a big mistake. And I was that good, and I'm ready to show you. Unfortunately, I think you're going to have a harder time doing that with a Cleveland franchise that just don't run as well as it should.
At all.
But I wish him the very best. Keep in mind, it's several people now with targets on their back that probably shouldn't have them. Obviously, Jackson Dart, one of them. If he don't play well in New York, it could get real ugly for him there.
Absolutely.
Dylan
And the
Gabriel,
job is done.
you got drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders. You're going to have to go to training camp and show up and show out to not only win a job, but to win the job over Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur, I have no doubt he will do everything in his power to do so. Keep in mind some of the people that he got mentoring him. And I find it very crazy that, okay, that guy is not
Tom
good
Brady.
at reading the board and whatnot. But one of the people that vouched for him was the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. If that dude didn't have it, I don't see why Tom would lie about it. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, I still question, okay, Tom, you seen what was going on. You couldn't lie because like, look, grab that dude. I mean, understand, even if he hadn't got drafted, much like his brother, and that's a whole nother situation, somebody was going to invite him to training camp. We know that. It's just the way it got played that
Absolutely.
we do not care for. It made a very bad thing of a very good situation, which was the draft. I did not, I mean, granted, I'm sure ABC probably was thrilled with it because think about it. This probably was the highest rated third day draft ever because
Yeah.
of, I mean, hell, I watched the third day last year. It was here in Detroit, and I still didn't watch the third day. That's just how invested I was. So, yeah, I get that. But, yeah, long story short, they did my man's dirt, okay? And we will not forget this.
And for
And
the
for
people,
those who look at it differently,
yeah,
fuck y'all.
I was just about to say that for those people who came, because there was a few people who text me, man, and I was like, when they were
Right. And then I've been
saying,
seeing all the people
I
in the
was
various
trapped.
comments on everything. Yeah. Smurf, what y'all think?
It's like for black people in America to see this happen, but then you get upset when it happened to you. No, don't have that same type of energy, and that's what it's about. And it's not about just the draft. I didn't like the way it took from the draft because you had some good high character kids in there, like for instance Mason Graham when Will Johnson fell in the draft. He basically took his picture, did his interviews and stuff, and exactly what he did. He went right back there to the green room and he sat up and he hung out with Will Johnson until he got selected. He didn't leave. He could have easily went on to Cleveland or did what he had to do, but he stayed there to make sure that Will Johnson was okay. And it wasn't a black or white thing. It was two teammates who care for each other thing. And I like to see a lot of that was going on because if people know me, they know that I'm not a racist person because I got black and white people in my family. I got mixed
As
people in
do
my
I.
family. And if you ever seen me before at any job or any place I was at and feel like I didn't care for you or was a friend who had any type of love for you, you know this, E man, because I love you like a brother. But if people didn't feel like I had love for them, man, who were friends or close to me, you don't know me at all, or either that or I didn't like you in the first place.
You one of the best dudes I know, Hugh. So I know
Thank
that
you,
to be
man.
true. But
Likewise, I appreciate
the whole thing is there's that, and then of course, and I think I probably might even address this next week on the other show. The people that always want to talk about how on draft day they see the kids and they next to their significant others and on their arm is somebody of a different race, and they wonder why that has become somewhat of the norm with these athletes. That's a discussion. It is, but long story short, um, you tend to remember the people that dealt with you when you wasn't all that. So when you become that, you deal with it different. And don't be mad at certain people because they recognize it before you did. I'm gonna leave that at that for now, but that's a
it.
discussion for another day.
I wanted to know if you knew too. The NFL fined Atlanta Falcons $250,000 and the defensive coordinator
Yes, let's
$100,000 for a
definitely
prank
talk about
call.
that. Okay, what happened here was this. During the process of the draft, Shador Sanders was sitting there and received a call from who he thought was the general manager of the New Orleans Saints saying that we're about to take you with the next pick. But then it's like, okay, you're going to have to wait a little while longer. We come to find out that that was a prank phone call made by this young man who was the son of one of the defensive coordinators for the Atlanta Falcons. Um, Long story short, they kind of had to do this and come out and find them. I really don't think the Falcons had anything to do with this. The problem was that the son got access to the numbers because he saw his father's iPad at the house and basically copied down that information. Understand it's not in the best interest of the league to have everybody's phone numbers floating out there into the known universe. So yeah, you kind of do have to address this in some type of way. Unfortunately, the Falcons just kind of got caught up in the middle, and so did
Unfortunately,
that young man's father. But yeah, he apologized to Shador. And keep in mind, he was not the only person that got pranked phone call, by the way. But because he was in the situation he was in, that just made it that much worse. Shame on that dude for doing that, man. I mean, sometimes in this society of where we trying to do this and this to get likes, we take things a little too far. That was one of those situations.
crazy thing too, E was I found out too when you said he wasn't the only person. It's weird, this one right here, the Abdul Carter situation, where they said he got prank called and they were saying that the Jaguars was going to move up to number two and get him. And he didn't wait long. He was the third overall pick. And I know that the Giants was licking their chops at getting him, man, which I still feel like it didn't really make sense to me too. Well, at the same time, I can't say that because he was probably one of the, best players all around in the draft. But it was just a lot of weird stuff happened in this draft right here, man, with the prank calls and all this other stuff. And you get it a lot, but I think that it hit harder with the situation and how things went down, unfortunately.
I had to agree, but yeah, so that was that. But yeah, overall, that was our thoughts on the draft. Share your comments. We'll address them at a different time if we need. But I'm sure we're not the only people that felt some type of way.
And I want to definitely move on, man, because it's stressful even still bringing that up and bringing that type of energy. But I want to talk about something that we saw and you gave me and was a huge head scratcher. And this hasn't been just this year; it's been the year before and the year before that. What the hell is going on right now? The WNBA have to do better with the women, man, in their league because we seen Cooper Flag's contract as a rookie versus Paige Becker's
Well, his
contract.
potential contract, let's say
Yeah,
that.
potential. Yeah, we can't say it's going to be their contract, but still on the same paying scales. And it's just funny that there's so much more of a gap with the NBA player versus the WNBA players right now. They went into it and said they're going to pay them more money soon, but they definitely need to do a better job at taking care of these women so they don't have to go overseas and all these places to even make ends meet.
And it's crazy. I mean, because it's the contrast of it that bothers you. Because keep in mind, they say that Cooper Flag's rookie deal looks to be upwards of $60+ million. Meanwhile, the deal that Paige Beckers just signed as the number one pick in the WNBA draft is for a little bit over $360,000. Now, granted, Paige has other endorsement deals and whatnot. She actually has more endorsement deals than Cooper Flag. But all that being said, if you look at the salary dispersions, basically what it boils down to is in 1 week of playing in the NBA for Cooper Flag, he will make more money in that 1 week than Paige is slated to make for 4 years. That's crazy. Okay. Now I understand the viewership is different and whatnot. The TV deal is definitely different. Amount of games they play, I understand all that. But when you look at how much viewership has increased, how much interest in the WNBA has increased in the last few years, it's hard to start justifying that. Bottom line is, in the next couple of years, I need to see WNBA salaries get into those millions. Okay, where the highest
Absolutely.
paid player in the league should at least be making a couple $1,000,000 a season. I mean, I don't see a day where they start to make what the NBA players like. I mean, hell, we starting to get to 70 million a season for some of these guys. I don't think we
Yeah.
ever gonna get there, but we at least got to get to the point where we in a $2 to $5 million range for the better players in the league. Come
Yeah.
on,
Because believe you me, them ladies still getting paid better than we are, but still for what
right?
they
And we know
do.
it's possible because they go overseas and get that money.
Yeah. But then it's sad too because of the fact, like you said, they're living here in the United States, man, and we supposed to be the greatest country in the world,
This is what
and they should
basketball
treat
was
us
created,
decent.
people, in this country.
And that's just weird, just the whole lopsided salaries there. And they got to do better on that. And we've been talking about that for years. And I'm hoping that's something that they look into because they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Hell, all the money that the NBA make, and since the WNBA got something to do with it, man, why is that money not being spread it out to help those women out, man? It's not justified to me.
Right. And at some point they probably should increase the number of games they play in the WNBA. And it's probably gonna have to be a scenario where the WNBA season and the NBA season kind of overlap each other to some degree. We got to work this thing out. It's not, we have always been an advocate for women's sports here in the Nighthawk Network. Me having been a person who covered women's sports for a few years in my college days at my college newspaper. Y'all know the story. But long story short is we just want it to be fair because these athletes are good players. They put out a good product. In the last few years, I would dare say more people have taken a stronger interest in WNBA than the
Yeah.
NBA. I'm sure if our good buddy Pryor Hunter was still here among us, he would think differently because he always felt some type of way about WNBA. But, you know, we know it's a good product and these some good players, and we've been watching them, keeping up with them, and we just want them to get their just due, plain and
That's
simple.
all we ask for is them to get their just due and get what
Yeah,
they
so
deserve.
understand, the preseason starts next week in the WNBA, and the season starts week after that. We will do a preview of our WNBA picks and whatnot in the next couple weeks or so. So look forward to that. And yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season because a lot of these teams and changed up a lot of players, and
Super teams, man.
we have to see how it play out. To be honest.
I want to see how my girl Satu Sabali do, man. I'm happy with the Aces, man. I'm a little biased there, but I was happy with that, man. With Jules Floyd, man. It's gonna be a lot of good stuff going on. And then I definitely want to see the Aces take the Sparks. Come on, man.
If we go here, Hugh, we're gonna take that boat ride all the way.
Yeah,
Don't stop the boat now,
that's
brother.
just
Don't
Bring
do
it
it.
back in.
Yeah,
Let's
bring
bring
it
it
back
back
in. Get back in
in.
the
I'm
car, bro.
excited about this season coming up.
Yeah, just get back in the car. Come on.
But yeah, man, before we get off the air too, we talked about something too, man, that it was kind of weird to me. And we set up and said that. And then when I found out she's not even going to be playing in the WNBA, what's really going on with my homegirl, Kennedy Carter, man? That was something that just what a math is not mathing.
Again, I don't think it's so much the race card on this one. So I'm going to show you the back of the cards. It is some type of conspiracy, though, I feel like.
Yeah.
Understand, we talking about Kennedy Carter in the 3 or 4 years she's been in the WNBA. She has been like one of the top 10, 15 players in the league, okay? In terms of her ability to score and to dominate a game. She's even a good defender as well. It's crazy how she has not managed to stick with a team longer than a year. I mean, last year she was basically the Chicago Sky's best offensive player,
Yeah.
without a shadow of a doubt. But for whatever reason, they chose not to re-sign her, and no other WNBA team has signed her. So now she is at least starting this season out in a Mexican league. And keep in mind, before that, she played in China, and she dominated in the Chinese league. She was averaging 30 plus points a game. If you go on YouTube and look at some of the highlights, they there for you to see. I mean, she is a great player. For whatever reason, I mean, and understand we're not getting any stories like we got with people like I can't think of her name, but basically the young lady from Australia who played in the league for a time, who is now a OnlyFans superstar. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Cambridge. There we go, Liz Cambridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're not getting into those type of stories like she was a bad teammate, she didn't get along with folks, whatnot. But for whatever reason, it's not happening. I think when we look at what happened in Chicago and how, even though Teresa Witherspoon had a pretty decent season, almost made the playoffs, they kind of got rid of her. She was like one of the first coaches that got the boot. I'm
Which
not
was
understanding, and keep in mind, she was very much a big advocate of Chinnicky Carter until she wasn't. So it's something not right with that story with us. That's what we're saying. I think there is a possibility that we do see her in the WNBA at some point this season. Keeping in mind that her league in the Mexican League ends earlier than the WNBA, and there is that possibility they could pick her up in like last month or so of the season. We'll see how it plays out, but I just don't understand why she didn't pick up with somebody.
especially a player of her caliber too. And like you said, he
Absolutely.
stepped her game up as one of the best players in the league after that whole incident with Caitlin Clark. And just for her
And perhaps that has something to do with, but Caitlin had incidents with other folks in the league last
yeah.
year. So, and they still, the Dejanay Carringtons of the world.
And
So,
we talked and we talked about too how
yeah,
crazy it was when now I forgot her name, Teresa something. The enforcer for the Connecticut Sun, when she grabbed her hair and Angel Reese and yanked her down to the ground, it was a flagrant foul. But then at the end of the game, too, they didn't look into it as serious as, because it was two women, going after each other of the same race or however you want to put it. I just feel like it ain't even really about that. I feel like it was because of the competitiveness of her being a rookie and being introduced to the game. But I think sometimes people just feel so different about it. And it's crazy because they always put it in the terms or they make it worse than what it could be.
Alyssa Thomas is the name we're looking for, Hugh.
Okay. That
Alyssa
lady,
Thomas.
what she did with Angel Reese was way worse. And but that wasn't being talked about. That wasn't put on the center stage. And it's just weird, man, that certain things get more attention than others. But I just look at it and I just felt like it was just how physical the
Right. I
WNBA
mean, and like
was.
I said, there's been other players that then kind of had issues with folks, and they don't tend to be around for a while. I mean, we got to talk about Skylar Diggins Smith because she's had that issue with a couple players and a couple teams, but yet her talent still has her on a roster. So I don't get it.
It's crazy too, because a lot of that stuff starting to look like it's Skyler, man, not the other people.
True, but she did play well in the unrivaled league, and I expect her to have another good season in
Yeah.
Seattle. Like I said, I'm hoping that Trinity Carter does catch on with somebody else before the end of the season. We will see.
Me too, man, because I definitely feel like her talent is way better than, was given credit for. But at the same time, no silly incident like that should even be the case. But just wishing her well and hopefully she can bounce back and come back to the WNBA and pick on with a team.
Absolutely.
Because speaking of, I definitely can't see what Caitlin Clark going to do with her new team that they just made
Yeah,
for.
it's a lot of good storylines. We will definitely get into all of them sometime next week or two. Not today. But one quick thing before we go, we do want to acknowledge that, yeah, this transfer portal thing is crazy. Thank God we at the end of it now where nobody else could throw their name in the portal unless, of course, they coach leaves. That is one of the new rules. Now, if your coach decides to go coach somewhere else, you automatically can hit the portal. And we have seen in a couple instances now that the coach leaves and the team like, I ain't staying. The only reason I stayed because he was in.
Damn near Marshall, the whole team did that.
And then, of course, what was the team in basketball this year? Was it Norfolk State? One of them lesser teams.
Was it McNeese State?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Where basically most of that team is going with the coach now to North Carolina State. So, it's weird. They still got a lot of kinks to work out with this whole transfer portal and NIL business.
I don't like it. It's very sloppy and they need to clean it up. Like, say, for instance, Will Johnson on top of everything, because I don't just think that it was because of his injury. A lot of it became his, character issues too, man, where just people would just say, I'm not playing anymore. We knew he was healthy, and it was things that came out that said he was healthy.
Absolutely.
But they just pack up everything when they don't feel like they're going to a championship game, the players, and they just leave in the middle of the season or just focus on their NFL career. They need to do a little better job at how they do that.
And it's crazy how some people get penalized more than others because we all know
he left Ohio State in the middle of the season when he knew they wasn't going anywhere and packed up and just straight went into like training for the combine, man. And it's like weird how they let people get away with that. But yeah, they need to fix the NIL because we thought it'd be good for the game, but it actually is worse for the game right now, man. It's starting to look more like a professional league now on a professional level and how selfish you see people are.
Right. And then of course the way this NIL and transfer portal playing out is actually helping some of the rivalries though. For example, if you are fans of either South Carolina or LSU, based on the fact that Miss Malaysia Fawali has now transferred over to LSU to play with a couple of her homegirls over there. Yeah, if you thought that game was already going to be feisty, I can't wait to see it this season.
And it's weird too, because I got love for Dawn Staley, been a fan of South Carolina for a while. But what did I tell you last season when you said, "Hey, Hugh, man, I think Malaysia Fawali ain't gonna stay"? What was the words that came out of my mouth, E?
Basically, you wasn't doubting what I was saying, but like, you basically said there's a few schools you thought she would go to, and this was one of them.
And I said, if she go, I go. I still got love for Don, but I'm gonna be pro Malaysia Fawali at this point.
So yeah, it sounds like LSU just gained another fan, y'all. But yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting game or two when they play.
But South Carolina did do themselves favors from getting what's my girl's name? Lasson, Tanaya Lasson, and then they ended up getting a pretty good respectable bid.
In college basketball last year among the women. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, definitely want to see what's going to happen this upcoming season. I like that skit you gave me too with Kim Mulkey too. That was hilarious. That lady was like on point with that. That was
pretty funny. But yeah, that's all I got. What about you, Hugh?
Well, that's all I have too, man. Like me and he always say, man, we appreciate all of y'all, from Rogue, Coach V, Joe, and all my family, friends, and loved ones. I appreciate y'all for y'all support. Follow me at Hoovy on Instagram. You can check me out too on Facebook at Sports Guru to you. You can email me or anybody you have questions for, but you can definitely email me at sportsguru2you@gmail.com. And of course, my TikTok page is Hugh.Lee6. You can get with me and you can check me out on there too. I put a lot of highlight reels and different things on there from the video perspective. So I know you can check that out. Facebook, I normally just put like the scores and late breaking news, and I'm just trying to keep our brand together too. Most more than likely, Instagram will definitely keep our shows intact, and me putting a different material of our shows and trying to boost us up for other people to reach us and check out our brand. I definitely feel like we got something good going over here, and I appreciate all the people for the love, and I'm just hoping it can expand because we definitely appreciate it. But yeah, that's all I have to say, and appreciate everything.
All right. So yeah, like I said, catch up that. We've actually about to shut it down soon for the summer, but we still be doing things in the interim. And one of the things we will be doing is like going through some of our past episodes and making some nice little clips and shorts and putting them on our other various social media platforms. So there's that. We also want to shout out to some of our partners that we have been doing some advertisement and promos for. Definitely are going to continue to do that and promote you guys on the show. You will see several of them at the end of the show here as we're going to do a little commercial thing to finish it off. But we appreciate you. We thank you. We're giving support because we're trying to get it in return. And we're just trying to spread the love and have the village take care of each other like, we preach here in the Night Hall Network. Our voices for our people.
Oh yeah, I can't forget, man. Shame on me, man. Aunt Nikki and Big Red and Meech too, man. I definitely love what they're doing too and appreciate them as well. Part of that family, man. I definitely don't want them to feel like I missed out on them, and I want them to, feel like that, because I feel like if it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be no us right now too. And I definitely appreciate the platform and the things that they've been doing to make this even more possible for us as well.
Absolutely. I also want to shout out the designer D Ford, who is down there based in Cleveland. Hopefully you do catch up with Shador Sanders. He wants to work with him and do some type of collaboration. I hope that works out for you, D Ford. I think that'll be an awesome thing that you do with that brother. Hopefully it all works out to both of you guys' benefit. That being said, we're about to call it a day. We appreciate y'all. We is up out this piece and
Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my T-Sippers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comfort together because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, darlings, with Big Meech.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech. It's time to dish tea with Big Meech.
Sports his way. It's the Guru's Perspectives.
Hey, this is your boy E-Buck. And if you're looking for some great desserts, something sweet, something to treat yourself with, please check out my girl Caramel Sweets here in the Metro Detroit area. She can make desserts for your function, your event, or just for that special someone you want to give something nice to. So check her out. It's Caramel Sweets. You can find her on Facebook and Instagram. We appreciate you.